Hello, my name's Ben,
My name's Josh.
and welcome back to FPL Graduates, and welcome back to a free hit draft. It's going to be an interesting week for a lot of FPL players, still with a few chips to play, and we've got an FPL draft for you.
Yeah, me and Ben have both used all our chips this season, so this isn't relevant for us, but we know some of you guys have got loads of chips remaining in some cases, or you've just saved your free hit until the end of the season. So in this draft, it's going to be the best free hit you've seen all week.
So to start off with our keepers, we've gone for Ward in goal. He is realistically just going to be fodder. He's going to be like a 4 million keeper that's not going to come off the bench. It's important in a free hit, guys, to make sure that you utilise your value of your squad. Make sure that you sort of, for a couple of bench players, you just don't spend as much money, spend as little money as possible. But for in goal, we've got Jordan Pickford. He's got one of the nicest doubles, I think, out of all the teams with a double in game week 37, especially defensively. So we've gone Pickford. He's looked very good over the last few weeks. Seems to be very high in confidence right now, which I think is key for a keeper. We saw sort of loads of saves that he's producing right now. He's got a high haul potential.
Yeah, 100%. You touched on it just then. Like, he's getting a lot of saves. So even if Everton are going to concede, obviously Brentford and Palace not the worst attacking teams. He's going to pick up saves throughout that. Ward, if Schmeichel gets injured, he's the second choice. So obviously, I doubt that will ever happen. But you've also got that possibility there. Some may say you should go maybe both Everton's keepers if Pickford doesn't play. But we've got some more Everton players in here who are much more important than covering that basis. So stepping into the defence, we've got Matty Cash in first. Obviously, Aston Villa, 2 home fixtures of Crystal Palace and Burnley. Matty Cash maybe not been performing as much points-wise as Digne, but his underlying numbers is why he's there, Ben, isn't it?
Yeah, he's a fantastic option. And this season we've seen he's got really high haul potential. He doesn't put in as many crosses as Digne, but his attacking threat is so much more. He makes a lot of touches inside the box. So that's why we're going for Matty Cash. Really good option, and we're very excited to see what he can do.
Yeah, next up is Michaelenko. Obviously scored that worldie against Leicester this weekend, but he's a cheap alternative, obviously, at fullback. Not a lot of people are going to own him as well. He's going to be a really nice differential to having that free hit. And like we said with Pickford, probably the best defensive games potentially on paper with Brentford and Crystal Palace. So he's in there. What's your thoughts on Michaelenko, Ben?
Yeah, I really like him as an asset. He's a little bit cheaper than Matty Cash, etc. So he's in that price bracket below. So I think if you're struggling for a little bit of cash and looking for a player around that price point, maybe you're looking to transfer out someone like Joel Matip, someone like that, then this is the perfect guy to go for.
Definitely. And then moving on, we're going for some single gaming players because they are just as important as some of these doublers. We've got Andrew Robertson in there. Obviously, he's a little bit cheaper than Trent. He's been rested against Aston Villa as well in the league. Obviously, we're recording this before the FA Cup on the weekend, so you're going to have to take that as a pinch of salt because we don't know what's happened there. But I doubt he gets rested in the league again. Obviously, he came off early as well in the past couple of games, so he's got his fitness back together. What's your thoughts on Robbo, Ben?
Yeah, it's worth remembering that the FPL deadline is a little bit later this week as well, so we're going to have a bit more information regarding this. I believe it is on the Sunday, is that right?
Yes, the deadline's on Sunday. The FA Cup final is on Saturday, so you'll know who's played and if there are any injuries after the FA Cup final.
Exactly, and it's a big advantage for FPL players, especially those on a free hit this week. It means you can get in those assets that you think are going to be playing against a Southampton team that are already on the beach. I mean, there's always that possibility that we could see another Liverpool player that's currently in our defence play in the next game week.
Yeah, and then next up is João Cancelo as well. Obviously, he's a mainstay, just like Trent and Robbo in our defences. City, like Liverpool, pushing for the title. There are so many defensive injuries as well that you can almost assured he'll pretty much play every single game now up until the end of the season. Tsimikas as well, like you mentioned. If Robertson doesn't play, Tsimikas will, unless they just put James Milner there for some random reason. So you should be covered in terms of having the Liverpool defender playing. So what's your thoughts on Cancelo and Tsimikas rotation, Ben?
Yeah, so Cancelo is nailed on to start, and I think he's probably a must-have for at least 3/4 of the FPL season. So it's no surprise to see him in there. And I think you just got to make sure, especially with this double game week, that you don't transfer out those high-owned assets that could do some serious damage. And Tsimikas he's seen to be a very able deputy to Andrew Robertson. He's very capable at fullback, and also if he does play, we can expect him to be on the outswinging corners too.
So moving on into midfield, we're going to spice it up a bit. This is where it gets really interesting for this week, and you could potentially make a lot of gains on your rivals in your mini leagues and also your ranking. So we'll kick off with Zaha. He's very, very nailed in that Crystal Palace attack. Villa and Everton away from home. Some not too bad fixtures. He's on penalties. What's your thoughts on Zaha, Ben?
Yeah, I really like him as an asset going forwards as well. It looks like he's playing a bit more centrally now as well, and he's their main talisman in that Crystal Palace midfield. So I think Wilfried Zaha is a really good pick for this week, and potentially even certain Michael Elise could be in with a shout. If you're trying to rejig funds, I think any of those Crystal Palace boys that you think's going to start is going to be a good option for this week. We'll move on into James Maddison. 6.9 million for the Leicester man. Obviously, we know he's got a little bit of a hip niggle, something along those lines. We know, he's potentially a rotation risk, but this man has a really explosive ceiling, really high ceiling for FPL points. So that's why we've got him in. We also think he's going to be relatively high ownership this week. So I think it's worth bringing him in. Josh, what are your thoughts on Maddison?
Yeah, I think he's the best Leicester attacker, full stop. Unless Jamie Vardy is fit, which I doubt he will be for both the games. I think we'll see Maddison play probably both of those games. And hopefully he doesn't get injuries. That's what's sort of stagnated his career, really, at Leicester. Hopefully he plays the Watford game anyway and gets a few returns. I would choose him over anyone of Dewsbury Hall, Iheanacho, Daka, Barnes, because he is the most explosive and can score from almost any sort of situation with set pieces being in his locker.
Exactly. We'll move on to another player that we think, it's just a must-have. You probably already own him. It's Mohamed Salah. Yes, he sort of blanked last game week 36, but, this could be the week again where he could get a good haul against a Southampton team that are really, really poor. They're not a good defensive team, so I would be very tempted to have Salah in there this week. And we will know a lot more information after that FA Cup final, so you can make a pretty good decision on those Liverpool players.
100%. Obviously, Salah since AFCON maybe hasn't performed to his best. He scored 81 points since AFCON, which is the joint fourth best in the league. But 41 of those points have come against Manchester United, Leeds and Norwich, as you remember that double game week. So he tends to score against weak defences. And what does Southampton have? A very weak defence at the moment. We saw Chelsea put, 6 past them a couple of weeks ago now. So I think this is generally a possibility that Salah could maybe clinch that golden boot and see off the rest of the season. Moving on to the next player, it is Riyad Mahrez. We've gone for a City midfielder here because, again, we think they're going for goals. Mahrez was benched against Wolves in the midweek, so we think he should start. We are playing Pep Roulette, though, aren't we, Ben?
Yeah, we are, but I think it's always worth having a Manchester City double up, at least in any free hit draft that you make. They're gunning for the title. They're looking really good right now. All the players are going to be aware of the Haaland impact. Someone's got to get dropped from somewhere. So I think we're going to see the City players up the levels of their game to try and make sure that they stay in Pep's mind for the summer. We could even potentially see one of these players in attacking position be sold to facilitate the Haaland move, or even potentially more moves that City need to make in the summer. So I think Mahrez is a good shout. In terms of FPL ability, this man is right up there. No one gets more points when playing per 90 than Riyad Mahrez. So I think it's a really good shout for this week. And moving on finally, similar to almost Salah, is Heung-min Son. We think he's a really important player for all FPL managers to have right now. I know I don't have him at the moment, and it's really tough to get him in if you have Kane and you're trying to switch it around. I think Son's a really good pick for this week. Tottenham, as we know, we're out of all competitions. They've just got the top 4 to play for. So I think Son's going to be a talismanic figure in that Spurs lineup.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, Salah is the joint 4th top scorer since game week 24 when AFCON ended. Son is the top scorer in that list. He scored, I think, over 130 points since game week 24. No one's beaten him. It's Harry Kane second, and it's by quite a margin. He's been the most informed player in this end of the season. I don't see that ending as well with Burnley and Norwich in their last 2 fixtures of the season. I think Spurs have still got a fight for, obviously, Champions League. We don't know the result of Thursday with Arsenal and Spurs at the moment, but I'm sure they're probably still going to chase and probably finish the season on high hopes ready for next. Son is just so good. He's so cheap as well. I think 11 million is a massive undercut of what he should be priced at going forward.
Okay, and finally, moving to the strikers. We've gone for 2 strikers that we're going to play and one that we're going to bench. for a little bit of fodder, as I do like saying in this video. First of all, we're going to go for the Everton man, Richarlison. He is a boy with a double game week, and I think it's really important to have him this week. His expected ownership is going to be very, very high, and that's probably because a lot of free hits and a lot of players are going to be transferring him in. Josh, what are your thoughts on Richarlison? Is he a must-have?
I definitely think he is. His effective ownership, as you mentioned, is going to be really, really high going into this, even without free hits. I think a lot of people will try and target him and maybe even captain him with those 2 home fixtures against Brentford and Crystal Palace. He's been decent form as well. I think he's ranking like top for shots in the box in the league, not just for Everton. So he's really up there. Everton look to be playing much better football now under Lampard. Almost saved themselves from relegation now, hopefully. So, yeah, he's looking decent. And then moving on past the fodder, as Ben likes to call it, on to Danny Ings. He's passed the eye test against Liverpool. He's been in good form, and I'd actually say better form than Ollie Watkins in recent weeks. He's picked up a couple of goals. He looks dangerous, and he looks quite in form. And when Danny Ings is in form, as we've seen in previous seasons, he tends to bag goals. Crystal Palace and Burnley at home, I think he's going to do it again this week.
So that sums up the free hit draft for Game Week 37. Let us know, have we missed anyone? Is there any players that you would bring in? Give us a shout and let us know in the comments section. We're interested to see what you guys think.
Yeah, make sure you smash the like and subscribe as well if you haven't already. We're trying to get to 2,000 subscribers, so help us get there. We'd massively appreciate it.
And as always, like Josh said, remember to subscribe. And I've been Ben.
I've been Josh.
And we'll see you guys
later. Have a good game week, everyone.